Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Friday, June 17th, 2022. It's 3 o'clock, and this is the Town of Dewey Beach public hearing and monthly town commissioners meeting. And but we do not have an executive session. It's being held at the Dewey Beach Life Saving Station, 1 Dagsworthy Avenue, Dewey Beach, Delaware. With that, I'd like to convene the town commissioners meeting. And I'd like to adopt the agenda. Noting that it's amended.
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The agenda has been adopted. Opening ceremony, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Roll call. Commissioner Jasinski. Present. Commissioner Persinger.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Present.
Commissioner Gibbings.
Here.
And Commissioner / Mayor Bill Stevens is here. We also have in attendance members of our Dewey Beach Police Force, Town Manager Bill Zolper, and our council, Fred Townsend, as well as other members of our town hall. Moving on to the next item. Anyone here for public comment? Anybody online for public comment? None. All right. On to updates and announcements. Mr. Zolper?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the chief. He's got a presentation he would like to make. Chief?
Thanks, Bill. As I told you at our previous meetings, on April 16th, 2022, while on patrol, one of the Dewey Beach police officers, PFC John King, saw smoke in the air and decided to investigate where it was originating from. As PFC King drove down Sweet Street, he noticed an orange glow coming from one of the buildings. Upon locating a house fire at 1902 Baird Avenue in Dewey Beach, King noticed cars parked out in front of the building, but could not see anybody standing outside. PFC King made a radio call to the fire department to respond. As the front of the building was fully engulfed in flames, PFC King ran to the back of the home to gain entry. He went upstairs to the second floor to enter the building. He was able to locate 6 people inside and help them get out safely. So through the National Chiefs Association, which I'm a member of, they have an application process, which pretty lengthy. I had to fill out quite a bit of paperwork, send media reports, crime reports, police reports from the fire marshal's office. And there's a panel down there that here's what the officers did, and they vote whether or not to accept an award. They have presented him and agreed to go with a life-saving award. And I'll read you 2 letters that I got. One's addressed to me. It said, "Dear Chief Mackert, enclosed you will find a life-saving award for Officer King was nominated. The staff at the American Police Hall of Fame is honored to present this award for his service. On behalf of the American Police Hall of Fame, we ask that you present this officer with his award at a time and place that is convenient for you. If there's a formal presentation made, please forward any pictures or media coverage to us. We would love to feature the event in one of our publications. Please express our congratulations to him as he has brought credit to himself and your department." And then there's a letter that they wrote to Officer King. It says, "Dear Officer King, it is my pleasure to inform you that you have been awarded the life-saving award of the National Awards Program of the American Police Hall of Fame. Our staff members join me in commending you for your valor and service. Your professionalism in an emergency situation displays your dedication to the service the public. Your selflessness act saved a human life, and your actions should be recognized. The diligence and bravery you exhibit sets an admirable standard for all to follow. Again, please accept our congratulations on your nomination and award. The staff of the American Police Hall of Fame wishes you continued success in your future." And that was signed by Chief of the the national president. So at this time, I have Lieutenant Hocker, and we know him as Jack, but PFC can't come forward. I want to present you the award. We can go ahead and get it. Let's see. So we'll do it like that. And if you guys can take some pictures, and I'll get them down to Florida to the association. Hey, Mike, if you need pictures for his family, feel free to stand up and get as many pictures as you need.
Hold still, Chief.
There's your award, sir. And let me give you your letter. Matter of fact, I'll put it on. And also, there's a lapel pin if you're in a suit and tie, and there's one for the dress uniform. Okay. So again, congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Hey, Chief, we get a picture with that too.
Absolutely.
But he
Absolutely.
He does realize that he has to now give them 5 years of service by executive.
I'm sure you've got a contract.
Got a vesting clause in it.
Yeah, if you want to get,
We'll get a picture with you.
if you want to get a picture or come up like that, as much fine. And I want to give you. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna give you that.
Get on his
Let me
line.
get it put on the side.
Gary, that was very gracious.
I'll give you a stand from the TV.
Elizabeth, you want to stand up here?
Turn the TV. Put it on FaceTime. One for the family.
Got it.
Yeah. Great job. Chief, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I get through.
Yeah. All right. So I can get under there, but my stomach's stuck on this.
Just make sure. I didn't have lunch today.
Okay.
Can you get your pet fly away from me? Kate's handiwork is back in action.
Give me my coat.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Zolper, anything else?
Yes, sir. To continue, the chief's going to brief a little bit later on what the state police and other agencies are going to be doing on the weekend. The police have been doing a great job along with parking and our maintenance folks to keep the town safe and clean. The RTT funds have been received and we're starting to purchase the items. So thank you. Our ARPA funds, we are in compliance up to this point with everything we're supposed to do with the ARPA funds, and we should receive the other $107,000 sometime this month. Wheelchairs are now being reserved. They started Memorial Day, movies start on the 20th, and the bonfire start on the 22nd. Verizon, meeting between CTC and the Verizon folks, they met this week to discuss what we sent back to Verizon on those questions on where the poles should be, what they said that where they wanted to move them, our questions back to them. So they met to discuss that. We don't have the results of that back yet. With the new building, GMB, we're waiting for them to get back to us on a schedule, but we are going to go ahead and get the survey based. GMB said this is what you need to have done to that lot. Really 3 lots. There's 2 lots on Route 1 and the lot that the current town hall sits on. We need to have all 3 of them surveyed along with flood elevation. It's going to be around $5,000 to get that done. But that's the first thing we need to do. And then once we have that, we know what we're dealing with. then we can start looking at, do we want to have something underneath it, or like they talked about, and how high up we can actually go. But until we get that survey done, we're not gonna be able to move forward. So hopefully we get that done the next couple of weeks. The grants are still on schedule, federal grant, the state grant, the historical grant. That historical grant's out here to replace the deck out front. We've had 6 new bike racks put in. Thank you, former Mayor Pat Wright and the Walsh family for doing that. And then when we get a little bit further in, I'll have the chief talk about what's going on the weekends. That's it, sir.
Okay. Real quick, I did want to just an update from the fact, a reminder that we have a beach tax is due to the public. They're due by August 1st, and that penalties will accrue beginning August 2nd for any accounts that are still delinquent on that date at 1.5% per month. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we all got to pay our dues. The second thing that I also just wanted to bring up is that we recently had a Zoom meeting with members of the state of Delaware. And the reason that they came to all of the mayors was because there was a town of one of the 7 coastal towns had passed an ordinance that could be construed as converting or becoming a private beach versus a public beach, because they were going to stop a certain action in town. The state wanted all the 7 towns to know that any ordinance that is passed to restrict public access could be looked at as a violation of their agreement. What that means that beach nourishment or beach replenishment would not be supported by the Army Corps of Engineers. So as we sit here and pass ordinance, while it was not us, obviously, that did it, they also reminded that one error could affect all the towns. And so all of the mayors are now getting together to make sure that that doesn't happen. So just a quick update. At this time, is it okay if we ask Carol to come up? Carol Everhart, who is the Dewey and Rehoboth Chamber of Commerce executive. Please, ma'am.
Alphabetical order. That's how it goes.
It's our year to be Dewey. Every year should go back and forth.
There you go.
Okay.
That would be fair. That's my problem. They have their meetings. They meet on the same Friday that you do in the city of Rehoboth, and they start at 2. So it is a real juggling act, but I've been absent so long. I wanted to make sure I came and said hi and gave you a little bit of information.
Thank you.
I think occupancy, I've been hearing and receiving calls. Hey, it looks a little light. Looks like there's parking. It's mostly, I'm hearing that in the city of Rehoboth Beach, more than in Dewey. So the calls are coming in that way. How is occupancy doing? So I just had them look, just give me 2019, 2021, and 2022, just percentage overall. How did that look? And if I looked at 2019, overall occupancy was at 92%. If I looked at last year, it was 96%. And this year, it was 82%. So definitely, we didn't have as many rooms occupied, but I will tell you that Dewey was on the higher percentage of that as opposed to other areas that we cover. As far as why that's happening, Carol, why is that happening? Well, I'm really not positive. I know that the schools are on different timeframes this year than typical. It's not all the same week. It's various weeks. The gas prices, I think that's having an impact, especially on the day tripper, more than our overnight guests. And we don't know what we don't know. So we're just waiting to hear or collect information to tell us a little bit more. And I did want to mention, and you're probably aware, but there is a House Bill 448 that has to do with basically parking spaces and new ordinances. It's not passed yet, but it might be something you want to keep an eye on, because I believe it could change the current criteria that you have with regard to access to handicap parking, that type of thing. So I know Rehoboth's looking at it. I don't have a lot of information about it. And I just wanted to check, Movies and Bonfires start next week. We have 2 interns, 1 volunteer, and everything's set. We're good to go as far as I know. And we're looking forward to being on the beach every Monday night for movies and every Wednesday night for bonfires. And if you don't know, if there's a weather condition, what the staff does is if they have to call the movie, and typically it's not called by us, it's called by the projector or by Cats with the Bonfires. We notify all the hotels so their guests know. We notify the police department and the town so that you start getting calls, you know, well, what's going on here? Well, there's a problem with setting up the projectors and the screens. Could be wind and they can't do it. And there was a very positive article about Rehoboth totally with ABC Good Morning America. And Dewey was highlighted with the Dewey Beach parasailing. I don't know if you know that. Is there anything you want to ask me? I like it.
What are the fireworks plans this year?
Well, in Rehoboth, they're July 3rd. I have not heard anything about Dewey, but July 3rd.
So in Dewey, they are July,
They're-
There you
but
go.
which is a Monday.
Out on the bay. That's,
Yes.
okay,
So they're July 4th.
great, thank you.
Okay,
Any other questions? Several.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. All right.
Thanks, Carol.
Committee reports. We'll go by commissioner and start with Commissioner Gibbings.
The investment committee is scheduled to meet again on July 14th. We have not met since the last meeting or the changes that we made in our last two council sessions.
Commissioner Jasinski,
No updates.
Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, I'll mention two things. The Climate Change Committee met this past Saturday, and they're really doing quite well. I was very happy that we had two of their members went to the University of Delaware session on creating resilient communities. I think it was, I took the same session about 3 years ago, but before COVID. And it's a great session. It's just really informative, full of good information. Climate Change Committee actually has a draft outline of a report that they plan to submit to the town council by the end of this year, but before the election, presumably. So that's a good sign. It's going to be a very preliminary report, but they really are moving along with good emphasis, I think. The other committee that met was the Comprehensive Development Plan Committee. They also met last Saturday, and they went through the checklist that we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, which is the basis for our report to the state on how we're doing with respect to the Comprehensive Development Plan. I think that was a very helpful session. I think there were some changes made as a result of that review. So again, I think we're doing well there as well.
Any update on the audit? Or anything you do?
Not from the committee standpoint, no. That's all in Sheena's area at this point, I believe.
Commissioner Barrow.
Marketing committee. Nothing really new to report that we haven't talked about before, but we have Laura Ashby here today, and she's on the agenda, and we're going to talk about that shortly.
Okay. I have nothing to report on the budget except I'm still in need of a chair. So if we know of anyone that's willing to step up, I'd greatly appreciate it. So just let me know. With that, we'll move on to the next. Oh,
Bags are being delivered today.
wonderful. Okay. You mean coolers?
Coolers.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of May 20, 2022 monthly town commissioner meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Jasinski. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Second is a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2022 special town commissioner meeting minutes.
So moved.
Commissioner Persinger, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barrow. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Those passed unanimously. Go on to action items. We will start with number one has been moved to a next future meeting. So number two, discuss and possibly vote to approve a resolution to appoint an acting chief of police to become effective immediately following the retirement of the current chief of police. With that, the things out, the cat's out of the bag, that our chief is retiring after
33 years and 2 months.
33 years and 2 months on.
Who's counting?
Who's counting? Any, Mr. Soper, do you want to?
Oh, yes, sir. So there is a I was asking how old the town was. I wasn't sure if he was the police chief before we had a town or not. There's a resolution here before you that deals with a chain of command. And there was a last minute change to it by virtue of a reference to chapter 19 of our charter. I printed our charter from E-code, but the E-code that we have, that link is still the old charter. I had seen the revised section 19, which specifies the manner in which the police chief is to be selected in the event of a vacancy. And we're just simply making reference to that in the last section or the last line of the now therefore clause.
Okay.
And additionally, there's no such thing as a acting chief of police. That was just kind of a term. It's not really a term of art. And after some consultation, we determined that a more appropriate way to reference that would be as an interim officer in charge. Yep.
So that resolution that we've seen just said it will be the town of Dewey Beach interim versus, so that's the only change?
Yes, it's interim officer in charge of the police department is the reference. And then there's also a reference to that interim period running until such time as the commissioners select the police chief in accordance with section 19 of the charter of the town of Dewey Beach.
Very good. Any discussion or conversation amongst the commissioners? Questions? With that being said,
The only question I have is what do you think the process is going to be and timing and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think it's difficult for us to make a change in the middle of the summer if we end up making the change at all, right? So I think what we should look at is probably posting this position sometime after July 15th or so, giving it a couple of weeks, start the process sometime in August. That way, we're not having a complete change if it comes to that in the middle of the summer. And that, our busiest time. Lieutenant Hocker has acted in this role before. He's been in this role before when the chief has been out for certain reasons. And I have complete confidence with him to continue that during the summer until we go through the process. Now, the process, I want to either have a committee or 3 separate committees and then have the applications sent in. They would look at them, evaluate them, rank them, then interview them. And then those would be ranked, sent to me. And then I would bring them before you with those rankings. And then as commissioners, you can decide whether you want to interview those 3, have them each come in individually or just take the rankings as they are.
Right. Okay. The revised charter also makes reference to a set of qualifications that are approved by the commissioners. Do we have such a thing? And we may have approved some set of qualifications, but I honestly don't remember.
So it's basically the COPT are the qualifications.
The COPT being
The Council of Police Training, correct? Right. So it's written here that the qualifications established by the town manager, approved by the town council, and who satisfy the requirements of the Delaware Council of Police Training under Resolution 800, Title 1 of the Delaware Administrative Code. A candidate must receive at least 3 or more favorable votes from the commissioners on the town council to be appointed as chief of police.
Yeah, I would just like to make sure that we're following the process where it says there has to be a set of qualifications and those have to be approved by commissioners. And if we can say we've done that in some way, fine. But otherwise, I think we should make sure that that base gets covered.
Okay.
All right. So, and we have some time to do it. So
Right.
we should take a second look at that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you, Gary.
This in 33 years and 2 months.
Right.
Exactly. Time to go back and look at it. Exactly.
All right, not having any other questions. Now I have a motion
Motion.
to
Second.
approve the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Okay. Let me know when, I guess I'll sign it. Or do you have it as,
I think this is the final. That's the one you gave me this final. Yep.
With the language in it.
It says in accordance with chapter 19.
yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Section 19.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is discuss progress on the comprehensive plan on the July 1 report and the July 1 report to the state. Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, I asked that we include this on the agenda today because I think this is an important report. We need to show progress on our comprehensive plan, and I think we really have made some good progress. And what I would like to suggest, there are a couple of suggestions that I have. We've gone through the checklist a couple of times. We're probably pretty well along in terms of what we need to do with respect to the checklist. But I think there's some questions that get dealt with. There are actually 4 questions. The checklist is essentially the first one. Really, what progress have you made? The second question, and I need to see if I can pull it up quickly. I'm sorry, there it is. The second question. Second question is, please highlight any significant accomplishments, development issues, trends, or conditions since the plan was last adopted or amended that may either have enhanced or hindered the implementation of your plan. These accomplishments may be used in the annual report to the governor. This is where I think we need to spend a little bit more time and add some paragraphs that describe kind of a range of things that we've been doing over the past year. And at the same time, hopefully give some of the committees that we have working with the town some credit and some mention, because I think they do some good work. One of them that may not first come to mind is with respect to the comprehensive plan is the marketing committee. And I'm not, let me be clear, I'm not offering to write this paragraph, but if there is a volunteer who would like to write something,
I'll write that paragraph.
I think it fits into cultural resources, the goal statement of which is encourage the development of an appropriate cultural character for the town in response to the identified needs of residents, property owners, business owners, and visitors. And I think there are certainly some activities that the marketing committee has been engaged in that could certainly be described and be supportive of that particular goal statement. I had some additional things. Jim Dedes, the assistant town manager, has already added a paragraph description for the 5G issue, which I think was a good addition. That
That's a good addition.
involve a change to our zoning code. So I think that's worth mentioning. All of the stormwater management activity that we have had over the past year, I think is also one that I think Jim is working on. And there may be an opportunity within the context of that description to mention the work that the infrastructure committee does and to give them some credit. I've drafted something already on I haven't shared it with Jim yet, on changes to the RV2 business parking requirements that I think are worth mentioning. And it's kind of juxtaposed with the final element of the MAR at the Lighthouse Code, where we actually gained 85 parking spaces. But I think at the same time, there's a realization that for appropriate economic development, there was a need to raise that threshold at which we require businesses to have parking or restaurants to have parking. The other thing that I want to cover too, enhancements to pedestrian safety. Town's done tremendous work, I think, in doing that. That should be a part of this description too, and hopefully Jim is working on something there. I also agreed to write up something on reallocation of resources for capital improvements and plans for a new town hall and police facility. I think that deserves a paragraph as well. We've shifted a lot of economic resources in that area, doing a lot of planning, and it's moving along quite well. So I think that's worth pointing out to the state. So my suggestion is we put this material together, send it to Jim Dedes, and Jim and Bill can make a final call on whether or not they think these are good additions or not. And then I think it'll be a good substantive report to send to the state.
Gary, great overview, and I agree with you, except with one addition. I think the establishment of the Climate Change Committee shows our dedication to that also in the paragraph.
Thank you. That is one of my other things that I'm working on, and I forgot to mention that. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions of Commissioner Persinger?
Thank you, Gary.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and possibly vote to approve David Vogt as a member of the Board of Adjustments. You saw the bio. Mr. Vogt has been a member of this community for 20 some odd years, I think maybe 30 years if I remember correctly. So with that being said, any comments by the commissioners?
Was that by
Great
posted?
guy.
I believe it was. Was it posted? Or was it? Make sure.
I don't believe it was.
And it wasn't in the email as an attachment?
No, he said post it on the website.
May not have been posted. Okay.
I just haven't seen the bio.
I did not find a bio, but I don't
Right.
trust my search strategies these days.
Just give me 1 minute. I apologize for that oversight. Give me just 1 minute. I'll read to you what he sent to me. David Vogt is a resident of Dewey Beach. He resides at 109 McKinley Avenue on the Bayside Court, Unit 1. He's lived and owned the home of Dewey Beach for over 38 years, married for 36 years to Chrissy, and they have 2 children, Andrew, 33, and Morgan, 30, who also both live and work in town. Professionally worked in information technology for the last 40 years, and for the first 11 years of his career, he worked as a computer operator. In 1990, he returned to school full-time to receive a bachelor's in 1992 for computer programming analysis. And over the next 30 years, worked for a law firm in the IT department, developing programs for data entry, printing legal departments, and fraud assessment. That is the overview that he provided. He's I've known him personally as a good member of our community.
I know him personally.
We okay to, that's fine.
Is we okay to? Can I have a motion
Motion
to approve? Dave vote?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. I do apologize. I thought I'd sent that up, along. Number 5, discuss and possibly vote to approve an ordinance to amend chapter 60, animals of the municipal code of the town of Dewey Beach, Delaware, by adding a new section, Article 3, waterfowl, section 60-10, 60-11, 60-12, relating to prohibiting the feeding of waterfowl. Captain, would you like to come on up?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Todd Fritchman, Dewey Beach Patrol Captain, here as a proponent of adopting an ordinance to give us the ability to regulate the mistaken kindness of feeding wildlife on the beaches or within town. Obviously, we have met the town's goal of growing the town into a family beach. It is full family units right now from one end to the other. And to prevent excessive feeding by overhead seagulls and depositing fecal matter and creating a nuisance environment, which is also degrading to the health of the wildlife. We would like the ability to have a law behind us to prevent people from feeding. We do it anyway by request, but we don't have a law behind us if they would actually call us on it. So that's a simple request. I know other municipalities have the same law for obvious reasons, and it would be just a good common sense ordinance to have in place.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zolper?
And Mr. Mayor, what we probably do is like we've done with the police department, with the beach patrol, is do little 3x5 cards, give them to the lifeguards. And so when somebody is doing that, they can say, hey, welcome to Dewey Beach, but here's our ordinance against feeding the animals, like we do with the alcohol now.
Sure.
We say, welcome to Dewey Beach, but here's our alcohol policy.
Right. Wonderful. Any questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, I guess one is, do we have signs at the entrance to the beaches saying, please don't feed the seagulls?
We don't.
I mean, I get that we don't want people to do that. And it's kind of one of those things when someone, you see the people who go down with the Grotto's pizza and what happens to them, right? They just kind of get attacked, and it's kind of the last time they do it. And I guess I'm just wondering can't we just have signage asking people not to do it? They're a big nuisance, and most people who do it kind of have a bad experience anyway, because they end up getting attacked by a flock of seagulls, no offense to the band. So I'm just wondering if just some signage rather than making it a ticketable ordinance isn't just enough to take care of it. The only thing that was in here that I noticed is you also included mammals and turtles and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's really something that we need to ban people feeding.
I would like to
turtles and
speak on that if I could.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, because seals are a problem. Yeah, one other thing, the discard of food products onto the beach. Also, we have a serious fox population, nuisance fox population in town.
Right.
And a lot of those burrow and reproduce under decks and so forth along the coastal frontage. So that does help us control waste product being laid all around to feed foxes and so forth, and other things. So the language is all inclusive to wildlife and would help us as a management tool. We can put the signage up there just like alcohol and other things on the main receiving boards and kiosks. But signage doesn't stop people from drinking. Signage doesn't stop. We just want the ability to have a backup when we tell people that they shouldn't be feeding the seagulls, that it's an ordinance instead of just us telling them it's a mistaken kindness and then end up with we haven't had any non-compliance.
Right.
It's just, we don't have a law behind us to, it's just a gesture what we're doing now. But there are we got skunks, we got,
I think we
yeah.
had that to our beach rolls, but yeah, I'd like you being able to have some teeth behind it. You're gonna have somebody that doesn't want to comply, and what do you do at that point?
Yeah, do understand, we are not trying to create a situation where we're writing tickets to anyone. We would never do that probably, unless it was a real crazy situation where they're bringing the feeding operation to the beach. But we want to have something behind us that we're not arguing. We don't have a law. Bethany has the same law.
Yeah.
City Rehoboth has the same law.
I guess the reason I'm kind of wondering is you're saying that you've never had someone refuse to comply with it. So why do we have to create a fine system if people do what we ask?
You don't have to. We're
Yeah.
just requesting.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think pretty good on the beach rules is, completely no feeding the seagulls, no feeding wildlife, whatever.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, Chief wanted to weigh in.
Yes, Chief.
Well, when I read and ultimately, if the lifeguards do have somebody, that are refusing to listen to what they say and they ask them to leave the beach. I got a question. I would hope that the commissioners do make this a civil offense like all the other beach regulations. It's a civil violation, not a criminal offense where we would have to get involved and take fingerprints and mug shots and all that for somebody feeding seagulls or whatever. I don't see that listed, and we've got to send that up to Delgis to be entered in their law file table. So I would ask the commissioners consider, if you do for the penalties, then make it clear there in case we do have to get involved and back the lifeguards up, that it is a civil offense versus a criminal offense.
Commissioner Bersinger.
Yeah, I hadn't thought maybe carefully enough about this until, Commissioner Jasinski raises some of his issues. So I mean, we could add this to the beach rules and simply prohibit feeding of waterfowl as well as any other mammal for that matter. But could we impose a civil fine associated with that without an ordinance?
Without,
We could not do it without an ordinance.
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
unless it was a civil offense to violate the beach rules themselves. And I'm not sure
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
where are the beach rules found in the code. They're not under beaches.
No, 65 is beaches.
And we don't have anything current under the beach ordinances right now addressing the feeding of wildlife.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against this. I'm just wondering whether or not it is better to have it in the beach rules. Since the enforcement is not going to be heavy-handed, certainly. Is it better just to have it as part of the beach rules rather than an ordinance with an associated fine?
So any violation of the standards that are expressed in Chapter 65 beach rules are declared in the first section as civil offense.
How many rules do we have in there?
Vehicles on the beach, use of boats, beach fires, that kind of stuff. How many?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So the captain is asking for a little teeth here to again, protect the residents who are on the beach and have, so everyone can enjoy the beaches. My goal at the end would be that he has some teeth behind us. If there's already something that we can do as part of the ordinance, then it is in there. I have no problem with this as it is. So I don't know why we wouldn't do it. Is where I'm coming to.
So may I?
Of course you may.
So chapter 60 regarding animals indicates that the municipality, Dewey Beach, has the power to initiate criminal or civil proceedings. So if it goes into section 60, it's unclear whether it's going to result in a criminal or civil.
We need to amend the ordinance so that it clearly states
Civil.
that it's a civil offense.
Where do we do that at, Fred?
Violations and penalties.
Clear that it's a civil.
60-12.
So we would add a sentence that says any violation of this, it's going to be a subsection. It'll be 12. It's going to go in 12 and it's making reference to 60-11. Is declared to be a civil offense pursuant to chapter 80 of the municipal code. So that's all the language that would need to go in. So that's going to be an additional sentence in section 12 that says violations of section 11 shall be declared to be civil offenses pursuant to chapter 80 of the municipal code.
Okay. All right.
So that's a really simple change.
Just a quick question to process. By approving this ordinance, does it automatically amend the beach rules? Or do we need to have a separate discussion on amending the beach rules?
I don't know.
I know how silly this sounds, but
I think that's administrative function. I mean, once we have an ordinance, we can make it.
Okay.
We can show the rules.
The beach rules, I think we codified the beach rules, didn't we?
that's why
I
I'm,
think so.
yeah.
I think so, right?
I think we codified the beach rules because we had a lot of discussion and vote about it.
Right.
You know,
But wouldn't the ordinance automatically amend?
this ordinance doesn't reference the beach rules.
No, but I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't add.
Oh, we could
this
certainly
to the
add it
beach
to the
rules.
beach rules, but that would be a separate thing that we would have to vote on.
But I mean, I don't know that you would need to vote. I mean, if you've got an ordinance and you wish to announce the existence of this ordinance,
Put it on the
you
sign.
could just put it on the sign, I
Yeah.
think.
That's
Okay.
true. Yeah.
All right.
Just,
Go ahead. Good.
one other perhaps minor, the title of this and some of the description sounds like we're exclusively talking about waterfowl, but there are a couple of places where we're talking about wild animals and mammals. Should we broaden the title of this so that it's more comprehensive?
You could further refine it to saying avian species and wildlife,
Avian
birds,
species and wildlife.
We have to
avian
look that up.
species and wildlife.
Avian flu.
I'm going to attempt the motion.
So, well, you're raising a technical concern
Yeah,
that
it
we
is.
posted
It is.
an ordinance with a title that gives the public an idea of what this relates to, and what it relates to is broader than the title, which is effective.
Right.
I'm going to make it.
Well, hold on,
motion.
but-
Yeah.
So, but Counselor, does that mean that we should amend or that we need to postpone?
I think we can amend.
You can't amend the title.
You
of it.
can't amend. the title?
Cannot, not the title.
Really?
You can amend the ordinance so long as you're doing so within the framework. So where does it refer? So the seal, so what you could do, but you may not like it, is section C of the proposed ordinance, remove the reference to seals, turtles, and other mammals. But that's not what you want to do. You may want to bring this back.
Why is it we can't amend the title?
Can't change the title.
Just a procedural thing?
Well, that's, so what I'm referring to is a prohibition related to the enactment of state laws, which I know to be the case. But when it comes to the Freedom of Information Act, we post an ordinance by title. It gives the public an idea of what it is that we're considering, and then they elect to participate or not.
But we have posted the ordinance as is, correct, on our website. And the title and the nature of what's in this ordinance, if read, includes other than waterfowl. Right,
In the
so,
text, certainly, yeah.
I mean, it's turtles. I mean, do feral cats count? People who do the trapping of feral cats. I mean, there's a lot of potential issues. I know the town's not going to be heavy-handed, but you know,
Counselor?
Well,
I
think
do not see other creatures besides those that Fly mentioned until 11C.
Right.
And perhaps it should be woven throughout.
11 is
I
the
think we need to
operative.
keep that in there.
What I think we can accomplish all goals if we were to have a motion on this ordinance potentially at the current point striking seals, turtles, and other mammals. And then have another ordinance in July that potentially that amends that or to add so that Captain gets what he needs.
yeah. Do we even have seals down here?
Yeah.
All right, so in section 60-11C, strike the words, gulls stay in there, and then
Right.
seals,
Yeah, they do fly.
turtles, right, or any other mammal, waterfowl from a pond, lake, or stream. So we're just striking the word seals and turtles.
I misspoke, gentlemen.
What's
I
that, Elizabeth?
misspoke. The third whereas also says wild animals.
So the whereas clause is not part of the ordinance. It's
Okay.
informational. Thanks for pointing that out, but it's not going to result in the ordinance being deemed defective.
Okay.
Like a synopsis also doesn't.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to approve this one. The title stays the same and add the language that Fred had mentioned. I'm sorry, in section C, 11C, striking the word seals and turtles
And other mammals.
Or
or any other mammal. We're going to keep in or waterfowl from a pond, lake, stream. So that all stays in there, but just striking the word seals, turtles, or any other mammal. And then in 60-12, a subsection, putting in the language that Fred had mentioned, violations of section 11, referring to chapter 80 and making it a civil offense.
Second.
Seconded. Good. Any other conversation?
Could I mention one thing?
Of course.
We don't have streams here, so it may be best to allude to the ocean and beaches.
Yeah, we can strike that from a pond, lake, or stream.
So can you amend your
Yep, I'll
motion?
amend that motion.
You take away.
Just
pond, lake,
striking the words from a
stream.
pond, lake, or stream.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other conversation? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Captain, what I'd ask if you would like to have an additional ordinance or amendment to include others other than waterfowl? Well, if you did, then just get with Ashley and we can add that to it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Todd.
Any other questions about beach patrol while I'm here?
Yeah.
Doing a great job.
How's the crowds been?
Crowds have been huge and very well behaved and conforming to our rules and regulations. And now we are completely into the vacation family unit time. So yeah, the
It
crowds
looks like
have
the
been-
beach is coming back nicely.
The beach is rebuilding. We got a primary berm built now that'll migrate back. And as long as we don't get any more 15-mile-an-hour or more storms for 3 days or more, then we should be fine.
All right.
And Todd, just so you know, I'm sure you do know, but for everyone else, we are scheduled, I believe, this fall for a renourishment.
I read that, yeah, late November, I believe. So, yeah.
Okay.
What's the
Thanks, sir.
water temperature?
The water temperature is 64, I believe.
Okay.
So it's
Feeling like 55 when I was in it earlier.
yeah, it's time to go in. Wait.
I'm still waiting until July 1. That's my target date.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Todd.
Moving to the next item on the agenda, discuss possible vote to approve the proposal submitted by Laura Ashby for a memorial to be constructed at the corner of Bellevue and Bayard Avenue. Of
I can ask my friend Laura to come up and speak on
course.
it.
So my son David was a proud homeowner. He lived on Bellevue, at the very end of the street overlooking the bay. And he passed away unexpectedly from sudden cardiac arrest. So his friends and family like to raise awareness about this. Sorry, not supposed to do that.
Take your time.
I haven't done this in a real long time. Anyway, so this past year, we started the first year of Dave's Dewey Dash, which is a 5K walk around from the Rusty Rudder. We raised just under $25,000, which is really good on a year. For the first year, we had about 150 participants there, and then another 50 that participated. Participated virtually. So it was really a big success, and we were competing with another race with the same company at the same exact time in Rehoboth. So they moved theirs, so our event this year should be much bigger. So that's really good. So what I'm here to talk about is what we want to do with the money that we raised last year. But I also want to tell you that we're doing another race this year, and the proceeds from that race will go towards purchasing defibrillator machines and associated training, as well as hands-only CPR. And if we have money left over, we want to do some screening at the local high school. They kind of open if I can, because children apparently, in like 120 kids, you'll find that 5% have some kind of heart defect, and of that, 2% need to be taken off the field immediately. So we can really save lives doing something like that. So I'm hopeful.
Be awesome.
But I've already talked to like Monty. He has already purchased an AED machine, a defibrillator for Starboard, but he doesn't have one for Starboard Raw. So I'm going to try to get to each of the restaurant owners as well as the lifeguards, and I understand that the lifeguards use AED machines. And so going forward, that's what I want to do with it. I'd like to make sure Dewey's covered, and then I'd like to expand outside of Dewey. Things work out the way I would like to. This year, we're partnering with a company or organization called Simon's Heart. So Simon was a little baby who passed from the same thing about 23 years ago. So they're a very well-established organization, 503c. So I'm running all of the donations and sponsorships through them this year, so that they're all taxed. All right, so that gives you an idea what we're doing going forward. So the first year, we talked about giving to the Dewey Beach Beautification Project. And then it evolved, and we wanted to have some type of memorial with Berkshire, but for Dave. And so what we're talking about now is a piece of property that's at like his place overlooks, right between the street and the bay. That's right now it's a sandy, rocky area that approaches then bushes, fruit trees. I think plans were to clear out that area anyway, so that there might be a little bit of a view. But what we want to do is put a concrete pad there, stamped concrete that looks like pavers. I did send out some pictures, and I'm not sure if you guys have them.
Hurry up.
Oh, awesome. It's wonderful. Okay. And so it's very similar to that, and I'm told just as of yesterday, it could be rounded edges if you wanted that as well, but pretty much a rectangle with gray in the center and dark gray around the edges.
Michelle, can I ask, is it possible you move the microphone up? And just so
sorry.
It's okay.
Oh.
It's online.
Yeah.
People can hear
Sorry.
you. No,
But
it's quite right.
This
Can we
is
start
good.
over?
Maybe you didn't hear all the crying. That would be good.
I'm kidding.
Hey, Laura, if
Okay.
I could step in for a second. So the
Yes.
bench, obviously we've been doing benches throughout town for many, many years. I can't tell you how many of these we got involved in with the Civic League. It's actually a little bit nicer than the plastic ones we've been putting out. This one looks like it's going to last quite a while. And it's going to an area, that's there's not, that's not going to breach any of our ordinances as far as runoff and that kind of stuff, right? We checked that with Jim Dede's. So it's a nice looking bench, and, you know, considering that we've done this, you know, many times in the past, never really had to come before the commissioners, but this was a little bit more than the standard one. So in addition to this, there's if you can scroll up there, Kate. Okay, well, we'll look at the.
So I
Yeah, go
actually have an update on that, because I had not known with the words that I wanted to include how large the sign would have to be. And so I just put on your proposal 15 by 15, which is not necessary. They came back to me and said that I could complete it. Sorry to interrupt,
That's okay.
but that I could complete it in 10 by 12. So these are copies. If I want us to see what it would look like. So that's.
It has a QR code on it.
Yes.
Right, that's the education side.
Yes, so people could, for years to come, be linked to a site that describes what sudden cardiac arrest is, the difference between that and a heart attack, and how you can save someone if you find out about it quickly enough and have the machine available. So you really have to work extremely quickly, I'm told, to save someone, but that's the goal. So we'd like to have, if possible, a little picture of Dave, and I was thinking that it would not be on some 8 or 6 foot pole, but that it might just be, you know, closer to the ground, off to the side of the patio.
Okay. So it's just kind of like mounted up off the ground.
Yeah, so a couple of stakes holding it up
Right.
towards the ground.
I think it's going to look very nice.
Yeah, so just to give you a little background, the bench, the tree design, Dave, after he passed, he was an artist also, and after he passed, the family found a drawing that he had done of a tree of life, and he had put all the things that were his favorites in life all around it. So it was really great to read afterwards. Anyway, when we saw this, we thought this is the bench. So we want to buy 2 of these, and they're wrought iron, and it's very sturdy. So the other thing to tell you is that if you ever did need to replace the bench, I'm told that there's tabs that we can buy to set into the concrete so that the chair goes exactly into those tabs and can be removed at a later date without destroying the concrete. I met with someone yesterday to get another estimate. They can't sort of make it firm until I'm aware of how big of an area you are accepting of. But yesterday we tried to measure out what did I ask for?
Yes, by 15 by 20.
15 by 20. Thank you. We did that, and it's a little large. So we're probably thinking more of something like 12 by 16 would be the largest.
I just want to make, and we as a town have the ability to this, I don't, from approval, this isn't a state street. There's nothing, we can do this. So first I want to ask.
Yes.
So the stamped concrete I checked with.
No, just putting it there.
That can be done.
Okay.
Stamped concrete can be done. The area that she's describing at Bellevue and Bayard does belong to the town. There is a berm there that does have a number of fruit trees that we've been told should be removed by an arborist because it'll break up the berm. But some of the other shrubs do need to stay. And once you get on top of that berm and you start to go down into the water, that's actually owned by Cajun Code. So we're allowed to do, if this should be approved, we're allowed to do some things on the berm that's on the side of the road. Once you get to the top and go down, that's owned by Cajun Code. So to take anything out, whether they're pear trees or beach grass on that side, whatever we decide, we have to get Cajun Codes approved.
Okay. And Ms. Ashby, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Commissioners, conversation.
Q&A.
Mr. President.
I guess the question I have is about the concrete pad. Everything else we build, we can't build driveways unless they have permeable surfaces. So how is it we can justify, a solid concrete pad here when we really can't do that anywhere else in town?
Right. So I asked Dawn Hicks about that, and she said because it's considered a It's not considered a driveway, so it doesn't fall under that. It's considered just a place where you would put these two benches. She said it wouldn't violate our current code. Okay. She's not here to explain it any more in depth, but I asked that same question because I kept going back to Ms. Ashby and say, hey, we got to make sure it's pervious. We got to make sure, right?
Yeah.
But then Dawn Hicks came back in and said, we don't have to ensure that.
I would agree with that because I don't think what's being proposed would qualify either as a driveway or as a driveway entrance, neither of which we're permitted to.
Well, and I wasn't suggesting that they were, but anything else we've done in town, there was, did some renovations on one of the streets here recently. And it was all pervious material. I'm just, while it may not be a technical violation of our code, I'm just wondering if it really is consistent with the spirit.
We could request that instead of the stamp to be pavers. That's going to change the cost of it, but that would be up to Ms.
And it
Ashby.
also, it floods there. You probably know that.
Well,
So
yeah.
what the whole idea is to have it, be as permanent as possible.
Spoke to Laura too. The fear would be that pavers would wash away.
Yeah.
It's not as strong.
Yeah, the public education part of this is really great that you're doing because I wasn't aware of it myself, and I'm sure that a lot of people aren't, as you probably were.
I was not.
That, not
Yeah,
aware yourself.
he was undiagnosed.
Right.
So
my question, I guess, to our town manager and my fellow commissioners is, this is really nice, and I like the fact that we're doing the public education thing along with it. But I guess what I'm wondering is, what do we say to somebody else who's lost a loved one who wants to do a memorial somewhere in town on public property? And we need to kind of think about how much, what we allow, because I wouldn't want someone to come forward seeing this is done and saying, hey, I want to have this memorial for this, as well somewhere here. And I've raised money to do that. And I want to be able to treat everybody equitably. And I just don't know what your all's thoughts are on what we can do here and still ensure that we can treat future requests equitably as well.
But, I think the spirit of it, when we first started doing park benches, we put them down at the beach entrances because it was a convenience to people and it was some way for everybody. Right. But you don't want to put multiple ones right next to each other, right? We don't want to put rows of them because there's only so much public space. But I think, we could maybe put a limit of one per street or something like that, or can't have them within 1,000 feet of each other. We can probably put some teeth in it like that for future.
Yeah, I just, I don't want to over-engineer this thing. I just want to, there are other people who would want to be able to do the same thing for a loved one, is the bottom line.
So, yeah, if I can just make a comment on, and I agree, this is it's a wonderful thing that you're doing from an educational and also from a standpoint. From a town of Dewey Beach, I'm not a big fan of Rehoboth's, plaque on every tree, that in terms of memorial, I'm not. But in this current situation, I believe Ms. Ashby has gone down this path and has worked with so many people that in this situation, we should approve it. But in future situations, it needs to be ahead of where you are. And I realize that you've spoken to a lot of people through marketing, through Paul, up until now, and that the first step would be to come in from the commissioners to have before energy and hearts poured into it.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my point of today. So
Elizabeth?
Commissioner Gibbings, anything?
No, I was thinking precedent terms. And I don't like to have to be reactive. I am very much in favor of David being memorialized, and the defibrillators. Oh my goodness, I've been fighting that in a number of areas. So yes, please. So I have no objection to this proposal, but I do think we as a commission needs to set guidelines for future.
Okay. Any other conversation?
I guess I'm still stuck on the solid concrete. I don't know that we have anything else like this in town. We have other parks where we have benches and, we have attractive areas that, why is it the proposal couldn't be somewhat different where we don't have a solid concrete pad? I mean, I appreciate and there's nothing more tragic than the loss of a child, no matter how old.
I was
And
thinking that-
I appreciate what you're doing. It's just I'm a little bothered by the inconsistency of putting this solid concrete pad out there when we're just not doing that anywhere else in town. We were talking earlier about how good the median looks. Well, we got rid of a lot of concrete in the median just by doing that project there. And we have planted areas here so that the stormwater, goes where it should and that doesn't just run off. And I appreciate that this flooding is going to be a problem. It's going to be an increasing problem, unfortunately, with climate change because of the proximity to the bay there. But did you really consider an alternate proposal? Maybe not even pavers, but just some natural planted area there with.
We
with
just
the
thought it would
benches.
be the less maintenance also. I mean, it would be like an intact area that won't have weeds growing through it or,
Right.
It would, and if it is raised a couple of inches off the ground, that the water would flow around it, initially first. I know that whole area can flood, but, rain runoff would flow around it and down to the street. Just
But you're
thinking
not,
that
I
we
mean.
wouldn't have
look,
to have a
we're-
budget for maintaining it.
Yeah, I guess the question I'd put out to commissioners is, if you agree to the idea of the concept, right? That's the first barrier we need to get through. I like the smaller plaque, again, just in terms of from an education. I agree with Commissioner Persinger, and I'll just say this. I recently redid my backyard and had looked at it from pavers versus a stamped concrete, and they were the same exact cost. And what they did do is they had a concrete edge poured around to keep the pavers and basically gluing the outside pavers in.
Might be a good compromise.
And then the pavers don't move.
I have
So,
not heard of that.
Yeah. I can give you the name of the person that I used. Did a wonderful
Okay.
job.
Okay,
But it did end up being the exact same amount of money.
okay.
That would be, I think, a good compromise to kind of keep. our
Commissioner
permeability.
I was like, how do I chime in here? I was going to ask, what do we do at Sunset Park? But I will retract that thought entirely because I like what you did. And it reminded me that that's what my parents did with their driveway, where they have the permeable stuff in the middle. Yes, there's a little bit of weeds that grow from time to time, but then the perimeter is static and it does not respond to changes. So if there's some way to do that, that would be a better fit with what we've required elsewhere and also take care of, suppose there's extra water there, because we don't want it all to lift up. Agreed. So, yes, thank you.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
I'll take it back to the two contractors that I'm talking to too. And hopefully they do this work.
If it's all right
But-
with you, I could just make a motion and she could just then do it if it's all right with you, rather than having to come back and
Go ahead.
put it on the agenda again. So I would motion that we approve this subject to the pad being permeable pavers with a small concrete edge to keep them in place. And with the provision that as commissioners, we look at these before people come forward with the funding and the proposal in the future. And that when we do it, it always have a public education component as you are so doing it. So just there has to be a kind of a distinguishing reason why we're kind of making some town space. But that's what I'd like to motion. If someone will second that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other conversation? Not seeing any? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. I just want
Thank
to
you.
clarify, I can order the benches and I can order a 10 by 12, 10 by 12 sign.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Those need,
Yeah.
6-8 weeks in
And Laura,
advance.
I'm going to send you Bill's number and he can send you his guys
Just in case.
in case
Okay.
you need it.
That'd be great.
It sounds like a good compromise.
Thank you very
Actually, I'll
much.
just send you that information. All
Oh,
right.
here, I'll just send.
Yeah.
Or send it
Wonderful.
to you.
But we do just would like to make sure that Commissioner Jazinski's point is well taken, and that any future action from any other towns needs to come here first for conversation before commitments are made. Okay.
And I believe, Mayor, that he also said it has a public education component, which is why the exception was made at this time.
Very
Hey,
good.
Lauren, just sent you John Arona's number.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 7, we review May 2022 financials. Town manager?
So we're doing we're doing well. Sheena has done a good job, plus our department heads have done a good job. As you can see, revenue expected 503,296, revenue received 517,121. We're above by 13,825. Even though we were down just a little bit in business licenses and fines, we're above in seasonal parking permits. We're selling more this year than we sold last year. Also, the hotel tax and accommodations tax itself and dog licenses, they're all up. Any questions on that? All right.
Great job
Expenses.
on the dog license.
Yeah. We're almost double where we were last year on dog license. Expenses expected 403,968. Actual expenses is 237,842. Difference of 166,126. A lot of that is we just didn't hire as many seasonals as we thought. So, for example, we budgeted for 20 summer police officers. They got 15 qualified folks. Parking, we budgeted for 10, and we don't have the numbers that we thought we'd have for parking either. Plus, our department heads are doing a good job looking at the numbers in their expenses. So income before set aside, depreciation and other expenses and income expected was 27,277. Actually, 34,480. The expected year to date difference on other revenues, expenses is set aside to 6,113. Actual year to date expenses after revenues, expenses and set aside is 153,481. Any
Great job.
questions?
Commissioner, any questions?
Not really a question. We've exchanged a couple of emails about the fund balance policy and the rainy day fund and the balance required in the unassigned fund. I'm not sure exactly I don't know that I understood necessarily your last response to that, but in essence, I mean, we need to hopefully be able to show on our balance sheet that we have the right amount of balance in the rainy day fund, which is about, almost close to $2 million. And then we also need to show that we have the right amount of money in the unassigned fund, which is about $592,000. However we get there, is fine with me. I just would really like to see us clearly in compliance.
So just as clarification, Commissioner, if I'm looking at the balance sheet of Town of Dewey Beach, there's right now $1,981,061.40 right in the rainy day fund. The unassigned fund combined with the net income is at $373,000. I realize that should be closer to 580, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, 590 some thousand. But the other issue is that the net income figure includes expenses from the assigned fund accounts like streets and infrastructure, and it also includes depreciation, which I'm not. I mean, I'm looking at the rainy day fund and the unassigned fund as actual cash balances, and so we're taking things out of net income, one of which is not a cash transaction, the other is something that comes out of another account. We also had, I think, I exchanged emails with Sheena about there was an expenditure from streets and infrastructure that was not reflected yet in the balance there, so that needs to be amended. But again, I however we get there, and I'm happy to do this, have a meeting offline. If you think that would be productive, we can just really
Yes, we can do
sort
that.
that out.
Okay. All right.
All right,
That's what we're saying.
okay.
That's fine.
Can I ask you which file you're looking at that you actually have a line item for the rainy day fund? Because I'm looking at the
That's
balance
right.
sheet that's not in there.
It is.
There are 3 pages.
It is in the balance sheet, yeah.
Okay, and which page of
It's
the
the
balance
last
sheet?
page.
Third page.
What's on the third page? Okay, I was
Under the fund.
got it.
And please note that, the rainy day fund is increased by the set aside as well as to match our 2023 budget. There's also in existence now the capital improvement town hall of $2,150,000. as we discussed in prior town commissioner meeting, and that will continue to grow as we get other grants and or contributions. I don't have any other questions from Sheena on the accounting side.
Nope.
We're good? All right.
Great job, Sheena.
All right. Number 8, town manager comments.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Mayor.
Zolper.
Real quick, just to hit some highlights. The police again have been doing a great job with our summer officers and on the weekends. If we could go to the photos, please. So Todd went ahead and got his folks started Memorial Day weekend. That's him doing the briefings in the morning. Next. So here we put in 3 speed bumps, right? One on Reed Avenue. Within 2 weeks after I took the job here 18 months ago, I had folks on Reed Avenue asking me on the ocean side, hey, we need a speed bump. People going up to the surf club, UPS vehicles going up. So we got those. It took a little while to get them in because of backwater and material, but we've got it in. That's the one there on Reed Street. Next one, please. That's on Salisbury Street, right there before the, well, that's on Bellevue that we had one put in there. So that was part of the whole piece on Bellevue Street where we had the citizens on that street make a donation to the town. We're able to use that money to put those 6x6 at the end, put a new bike rack down there, new trash can, flowers, and beach grass at the end of that street there, and push back a little bit of the sand that was there. And then we added in that speed bump. Next one, please. And this is the that's the one we had previously. And this is the one there up near the Starboard, there on Salisbury Street. I had a number of different neighbors on there ask for that speed bump. The Ubers come down that street all night on Friday and Saturday nights, up and down that street, and the people accelerate to try to hit the lights on each one of these streets. So next, please. So here we did some trimming along King Charles. As you come off those side streets, whether it's Chesapeake, Carolina, West Street, Chicago, it's hard to see those bicycles coming down there as you're getting ready to pull out from the side streets. So we went ahead and got aggressive, trimmed those backs. At the same time, we talked to the folks that live in those places along there, make sure we didn't trim too much back because they like that barrier. So we were able to do that. Next, please. This was a CrossFit competition. It's been going on for a number of years down there. Went really well down at the Rudder. Good turnout. Next, please. So we have a number of different cables around town that look like this. That Comcast this is out in front of Nowell. What they did was they removed a pole. Verizon removed a pole. They had 2 poles there, and they moved everything over to 1 pole in front of Nowell. They took the cable stuff from Comcast and they just ran it up out of the ground, ran it across, and just used some electrical tape and put it like this. Next one, please. And there's another one. So what we're doing is collecting photos around town and the addresses. We're going to send them all to Comcast at one time and say, hey, you got to clean this up. This looks ridiculous. We're trying to keep the town clean. Chief's trying to keep it safe. And we've got this all throughout the town with the cable looking terrible. So I just wanted to kind of just point those items out to you as we try to make some differences in the town as we go forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to the chief if he comments on what they're doing proactively to a limited extent on this weekend.
Yeah, for this weekend, we're going to put additional cars out on the road. They've not been given any specific assignments, so they're free to be proactive. They have no assigned duties or anything. So if folks are wanting to come into town and misbehave, they have the time. They're not tied up. They're not been assigned to run complaints. They are free to spend as much time as they need to deal with anything that comes, to be proactive. And we also, we had a meeting with a business group down at the Hyatt. I'm very productive, a lot of dialogue back and forth. We give some ideas, they give some ideas back to us. And we reached out to our allied agency with the state police, and they have offered up some help this weekend too. So we'll have units from their agency in town too. So we should be pretty well able to handle anything coming our way this weekend. And I remember, Carol, all the meetings we've been to together, one of the things we want our visitors and our residents, they gotta feel safe. We're not out there to occupy the town. We're part of your community. We want to keep you safe. We're not happy when we have these people come into town and act up and create problems. And we don't want it, just like the citizens and the visitors don't want it. So we're doing everything on our end and, looking at other cities across the country. That's one of the things. We don't want tourism impacted. We don't want our visitors impacted. That we want them to feel safe. And when you guys did the release the other day, or the town did, I was kind of monitoring some of the social media, and I remember specifically seeing this one lady. She'd quit coming to Dewey for years, and her friend wanted her to come, and she said, "Now that I see that the police presence is going to be increased, I'm going to pick my friend up, and we are going to go to Dewey." So that's what we want. Are we going to have 100% non-activity? I can't guarantee that. I wish I had a crystal ball that said that, but we have increased the police presence out there, and hopefully, we should have a good weekend here and throughout, because that's going to continue throughout the rest of the summer. So we've got a good feeling about it. We had good feedback from the business community. They're doing things on their end to try and alleviate problems. They're working with us. I think it was very productive. I mean, great dialogue back and forth. Mayor, you were there. I think in this day and age, and what I see going on across the country, the more interactions, not only us as police that have the magic silver bullet to fix everything, you guys have ideas too, or businesses have ideas. And if we get together as a collective group, I think that would be the best way to solve it. And I'm seeing some other cities dealing with this. So I've got a lot of faith. I've seen this town come together whenever there has been an issue, and we've been able to solve it and work through it. And I think that's what we're doing. I don't want to get into the specifics on our manpowers, how many we're actually bringing in, but there will be a big police presence out there. Like I said, just to make people feel safe and to deter the ones that are coming into town to create problems. We have all the time in the world to deal with you. So let's hope we don't have to do that. Let's hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable summer, and that we have no more further events happen.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Great job.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, also say in the 18 months I've been here, the chief has been very cooperative. Everything that I've wanted to initiate and go forward with, everything from looking at what we thought we wanted to do when I first came in, with getting another full-time police officer with your support, and then also with the commissioner's support, raising the salaries and the benefits for our police officers. And a lot of that goes back to the chief and to the lieutenant. But I'd like to say, Chief, for your 33 years of service to this town and to these citizens, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. My family's been here for a long time as a summer resident, and we really know and appreciate what Dewey Beach Police Department's done for the last 33 years with you working there, and then under the last several years under your command. Thank you.
I guess the importance, I just realized that this is the last meeting you'll be attending?
I was thinking about that when I put this uniform on today. I wouldn't say that. I don't have no reason to come unless you folks need something. I'm always there for you guys, but yeah, this will be my last official town meeting.
Chief,
You're always welcome to come back.
Always welcome. And obviously, thank you for everything you've done for town.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Now, were those your comments and the next thing on the agenda, or is there no more?
Well, I want to hit one more thing
Yeah,
that I think you guys are probably like. I've been working with DivCom, which is the State of Delaware Division of Communications. When the state first went to the 800 megahertz portable radio system and car radios, we got on board and we got some from the state. The town purchased some. Well, we've been notified that in 2024, I believe it is, all that old technology is going to be pulled off the state network. So our equipment will be outdated and unusable. So Bill told me, he said, hey, my brother with Fish and Wildlife, they're in a program with the state for a 1-for-1 swap. So I checked into it. And we had several radios that qualified for a 1-for-1 swap. Just to give you a cost, a portable radio that the police carry, like the walkie-talkies, they're about $5,400 a piece. They're very expensive. And the car radios, I haven't got into those yet. They're a little bit more, but we had, I believe it was 7 or 8 radios that qualified for a 1-for-1 trade-in. So that will not be costing the town anything. We've received our first group on the swap, and they'll have them out on the road this weekend. So, you know, a lot of the money we were able to call save and get in on that program, trade our old ones in, and then get new ones. So that's something that town, you know, won't have to be purchasing, and we'll be ready in 2024 when the new system comes up online. So, you know, we're working on that. We've got some things we're trying to finish up. But yeah, I was very, very pleased when I called up there to Dover and they said, yeah, you have radios. We'll give you the 1-for-1 swap. So that's less money, you know, we'll have to, you know, spend out of the town's budget for it. So.
Great job.
Okay.
Any other comments? Town manager, chief of police? Okay. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Bauer.
First off, thank you, Sam. You know, 33 years and 2 months ago. I mean, I acted here back then. You had a little bit more too.
I
So
wasn't even born.
you weren't even born yet, but
Different color, too.
no, you know, a lot of good leadership for all these years. So
Thanks,
thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
I got a couple comments, just updates. So we've had a request in for 2.8 million to the federal through Senator Coons's office. We're hoping to get an update on that soon. And then the state has, and that's towards the police station. Yeah, it's for police station funds. And then we also have the Tuesday and Wednesday, the community reinvestment funds. Ashley, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, it's being heard by the bond bill committee on Tuesday, where they're going to review all of the requests that have been sent in, and they're making a final decision on Wednesday. We will know something from them based on how much we're going to get, or if we're going to get anything by July 5th.
Okay. Yeah, we've asked for a lot and we're ecstatic, whatever we can get there. In addition to that, I spoke to Speaker Schwarzkopf about some additional beach mats. So it looks like we'll get another 10 panels just to replace some of the stuff that's starting to wear out. And that's in the funding too. So the state's been very, very helpful towards us, and it's a great working relationship.
Thank you, Paul. Commissioner Gibbons.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, thank you for your service to the town of Dewey Beach. You and I have discussed on several occasions how much psychology is involved in policing, and you just demonstrated the theory of discriminate stimulus. Quick little education, guys. Discriminate stimulus is—
You got to Google that.
It is in the presence of which you do not engage in a particular behavior. So, for example, a student in a classroom tends not to act up if they're near the teacher. I would bet that those of you in the room and those of you listening do not speed when a police car is nearby. So by increasing our police presence, we are being proactive and preventive instead of reactive. And that is absolutely the way we should be going with our town. I also wanted to send a commendation out to Todd and his beach patrol. I was eavesdropping on conversations up and down the beach the other weekend, and everybody was impressed with how kind and considerate the lifeguards were in their interactions when they had to correct behavior that wasn't acceptable on our beaches. And it was just wonderful to see and wonderful to hear. So thanks to both teams.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jasinski.
As with everybody else, thank you, Chief, for everything.
Thanks, Chief.
I was delighted to see that you were able to put in some speed bumps, Mrs. Holper, for public safety purposes, some of the streets. I'll follow up with you separately. I know a lot of people in the North End have been trying to figure out what they can do to kind of slow down some of the cars that are coming through the neighborhood. So we might try to see if there are other places we can do. It sounds like there may be a contribution component to getting it done, but I'll loop up with you separately on that.
Wonderful. Commissioner Persinger.
Yeah, I would just add my thanks to the chief for your service to the
Thanks,
town.
Peter.
And my best advice to you, having been retired for some time, is stay busy as you can. Don't get up in the morning and say, what am I going to do today? Have that well planned in advance. There was some discussion about the beach wheelchairs, and also Paul mentioned the mats. Are you doing anything to kind of monitor or take care of some of the entrances to go over the dunes? At least the one that I'm familiar with is Dickinson. Looks good. Taking a wheelchair onto the beach off the end of the mat on Dickinson would be a real real challenge. So I don't know if there may be problems on other streets as well. Are you doing anything to monitor that or try to improve some of those situations?
I'm not, I talked to our maintenance folks about, and it was brought up by, I think, the mayor about trying to level some of those out. We just don't have the sand to do it. If you pull the mats back and try to start the leveling in the middle of the dune, now you're digging out the dune that's already established. Not sure Denrec would be in favor of that. Without buying some actual sand or taking sand from the beach and moving it up, McKinley Street's probably the worst one out of all the 20 different beach dune crossings. I'm not sure how we address that unless we just, Captain Frenchman brought it up to me today that McKinley was a very steep drop. And I said, okay, tell me, do we need to close it? We'll close it. He said, no, we don't need to close it. But he said, I just want to let you know it's a very steep drop. So maybe we put a sign up that says some type of caution.
Well, I mean, Dickinson's fine, for beach traffic, foot traffic, that is. But I'm just wondering, maybe in terms of renting the wheelchairs, maybe you could give people who rent the wheelchairs a list of those entrances which are most accessible with a wheelchair, rather than just kind of pulling one up there and saying, "Oh my God, what am I going to do now? I can't get down there."
We can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Anything? Okay. From my perspective, I have a few different things I just want to read into the record. One is that the nomination to the governor regarding Alderman Kelly Pettyjohn is on the Senate agenda and will be heard next Wednesday, June 22nd. And hopefully that goes well. Also, Monday is now a holiday where the government offices in the state are closed. So we will be closed for full service. Bonnie will be working the front office to sell dog licenses during the day, but we will be.
She'll be there for parking permits, answering any questions, but besides our emergency response folks, the rest of the town hall will be closed.
Okay. And just so you know, all of the new ad mats were also delivered today. In the final comment, final closing, thanks, Chief. And I hope you forget and come to the next meeting and maybe in flip-flops.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Really,
Yeah,
don't.
t-shirt.
If we recognize.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, can I have a motion to adjourn today's commission meeting?
Motion.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.